Unpacking the Toolbox is a production of Shondaland Audio in partnership with iHeartRadio.
It's the Scandal Rewatch Podcast Show with Guillermo Diaz and Katie Rose.
We do this stream of consciousness thing sometimes randomly for episodes of Unpacking the Toolbox. We learned it from the lovely Hannah Simone because we did a crossover episode on her New Girl podcast and she did ours. And she did this freaking fun ass thing where she was like, I did a stream of consciousness while I was watching the episode. And she just wrote down what popped into her head while she was watching the episode. And me and Katie fell in love with it. And this is the first time I'm doing it about a person and not an episode. So, but also like reading it back, Katie, I was like, this is giving me poem also. Like I did stream of consciousness, but then there's like,
are you
poem,
a fucking
like,
poet?
I was like, what am I doing?
You're a
sound
poet.
like Allen Ginsberg. Yeah.
Look
It's
out.
great. All right. So here goes. Shonda Rhimes. A collector, an observer, a watcher of lives, of minds, of things good and bad, a quiet human, a quiet soul. I have never met a more quiet woman with the loudest mind and the loudest brain and with the bestest skill to weave those collections she collects into stories that mesmerize us, that move us, that make us stand by the coolers at work and chatter with our friends and even foes about what we watched the night before and what we'll watch on Thursday at night after 4. That Thursday stuff changed my life. She took a chance on me and shined a light on my quietness, on my weirdness, and turned it into a character, or rather she created this character and then chose me to play it, and I melted into him. Shonda, I have never felt more intimidated by someone in my life, but that is only because I want to do good by you, by your brilliance, your words, from McSteamy and McDreamy to Olitz and Olake, and finally with the win of Huckleberry Quinn. From you, so much more to come out there for the take. That's it.
Oh,
that's it.
My God.
What the fuck? It's giving
As
poem,
if you
right?
couldn't
It's like
be hotter. As if you couldn't be cooler or hotter or more interesting or more just the best human I've ever known. You're also a brilliant poet. Is everyone losing their minds? I'm losing my mind right now. Also, Shonda's definitely listening to this episode and she will definitely hear it.
Yes. Oh, good.
That was so beautiful. I mean, our
fun.
listeners, our guest today is the one and only Shonda Rhimes.
The queen, the one and only.
And she is the creator of Huckleberry Quinn, the creator of our baby, our Huck. Like Huck is one of the best characters in all of television history, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm so lucky. We're so lucky to have played these characters. She's also the queen of like all these stands, right? Like Olake, Olitz, like McSteamy, McDreamy, all these like
oh my
nicknames
God.
that we've given these characters because people deeply fall in love with them.
Deeply
Like this is the
fall
woman
in
that
love.
created these people, like these stories.
And
It's
these
so
relationships
awesome.
that people
Yeah.
are just like obsessed with. It's just
Yeah.
so. And season 3, I'm so glad she's coming on because season 3 was so pivotal. I feel like this was where Scandal is Scandal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like 1 was 1, 2, we were like kind of getting out to the races. And by season 3, we were just like a fucking winning horse. Just, do you like my horse metaphor right now? I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm not sure it's working, but you know what I mean.
Yes. This is the season where you felt like, oh shit, one of us is going to get struck by lightning. One of us is going to be offed. And one of us was. A few of us were.
Oh my God.
not
Daniel
me and
Douglas,
you, but
dead. Jerry Grant, dead. Fucking James Novak, dead.
Dead.
Oh, that hot girl that looks like Marika, dead.
You're dead. Also dead.
Like, the guy I killed at the beginning, dead with the shot in the
also,
hand, dead.
That's right. Yo, we should have asked Scott about that, but we had him on the podcast before we did that episode.
Yeah, next time we ever have him on again, we have to be like, remember that hot B613 girl? She looked just like Marika.
Was that intentional? Did you
was
cast
that like
her?
supposed to be? They could be sisters or something.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, this episode is so great. But before G and I break down episode 308, which is a personal fave of mine, we have an amazing guest. She's Bridgerton. She's Queen Charlotte. She's Grey's Anatomy. She's Private Practice. She's How to Get Away with Murder. And she's Scandal. You guys know who it is. the one and only.
Shonda
It's our
Rhimes.
queen bee. It's Shonda Rhimes. But we are, at the time of this recording, talking to her the day of the Bridgerton season 3 release. How is it feeling? Are we excited? Talk to us about Bridgerton.
It's feeling good. You know what I was thinking? Like, this is the season 3 release, and I'm here to talk about season 3 Scandal.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
So
yes.
Shonda doesn't do short shows, like, just so everyone knows, even though it's funny, like Queen Charlotte was obviously a miniseries. Inventing Anna was a miniseries that I got to be on. And I remember when you walked in, you were like, this is really weird. Like, I only do shows that last like forever.
7 years, yeah.
Or more.
So Bridgerton
I
in
know.
season 3, does it feel new still?
You know, it does feel new because we have Jess Brownell now from Scandal, one of our Scandal writers running the show. And so it's got like a
Amazing.
fresh take, and it's been really fun.
That's so exciting.
What can you tease anything as a massive, separated from you, I'm a freaking massive Bridgerton fan.
I can tease nothing except you're really going to love it. It's a very sexy season, and Lady Whistledown gets her due. I love Lady Whistledown.
Oh, you know what I'll be doing all weekend will just be not leaving my house and just watching that. Okay, so take us through season 3 of Scandal. Gladiators was the juggernaut season. It was like,
I know, because I
Yeah.
went back to look at all the episode names to like refresh myself, and I was like, oh my God, this is the season this happened, and that happened, and this happened. It
Oh,
was one
yeah.
of my favorite seasons, really.
me too.
It's such a great season. I mean, major characters die, major characters murder. I mean, it's a wild season. And we were in our groove, right? I think people really started to
We were
fall
really
in
in our
love with
groove,
Scandal. Yeah, and the characters, and it was such an exciting time.
Do you remember, Shonda, like, what did your days at this point?
Yeah.
Like, okay, Grey's is obviously the juggernaut. Now you've got 2
Oh my God.
massive juggernauts happening at one time.
Well, we also
Can you
had
take
How
it-
to Get Away with Murder.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
that was on
Yeah.
by this
I
point?
think, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. It was like the very beginning of it, I think, right?
Yeah.
My gosh. What was
Mhm.
your day-to-day like at this
Oh
point?
my
Are you
God.
sitting in the Scandal writer's room all day, or are you like hiding in your office? Like, what was a day-to-day like in Shonda Rhimes' life at this moment in time?
I feel like I was running around like a crazy person, because I was popping into the Scandal's writer's room to talk about what we were going to do next and to hear all their ideas and pitches. I was in my office rewriting whatever script was coming up. I was
Yep.
also in my office editing whichever the next cut was to get on the air in like 4 days.
Oh my God.
And then
Shonda.
I was going to like prep meetings and talking to Tom. Like, it was crazy.
It was
People always
Wow.
wonder why I was never like sitting on set. I was like, I didn't have time for that, because I was also editing every episode of Grey's Anatomy at that point too.
Oh my God. I remember you sat on set with Betsy Beers during the pilot, and that was probably the only time that you had time to do that.
Until we did the finale, until we did the final episode.
You came down a few times and we would be like, which is the right move, I think, also. Like, you came down, I think, for our 752 monologues
Yes.
in season
Yes.
1.
Yeah.
Like, there were a handful in 7 or 8 years that you came down.
I came down for the
And
things
I
I
think-
wanted to see in person myself. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
also I think what I've picked up on is there is this sort of, at this point, which was already happening, there's like a real Shonda effect, which is people can't really, and I love you so much, you know I love you, but people can't do their jobs when Shonda comes to set because everyone
Yeah.
is literally shaking in their shoes and
turn
so
into
excited
bumbling
and want to
fools,
meet
yeah.
you and scared and intimidated and all this stuff. So it's better.
Yeah.
You know it's better.
I learned that. And I got to tell you, like, I learned it early on. I mean, like maybe season 6 on Grey's, I would go to set and everything would stop. And
Yes.
I'd go down to Scandal, and everybody, by then it was even worse because I had 3 nights, 3 whole episodes of the whole night of TV.
TGIT. Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
would be so nervous. And like, I would comment, I would say like, oh, nice wall. Maybe like, do you hate the wall? Like, oh my God, we've got to, you know what I mean? Like, they were trying so hard to
Yes.
please. And I was like, I'm basically messing up work here. So I'm not coming.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I remember you came down to Inventing Anna one day, and everyone was like, oh my God, everyone who'd worked on the show with you and had exchanged a million emails on like clothing choices. And we're like, do you think I can get a photo? Like production stopped because everyone needed to get their picture for their family.
It was nerve-wracking. And I always feel so bad because honestly, I feel like I'm interrupting people being able to do their creative process their way. So I'm like, I'm not going down there unless it's an emergency.
You need to go through like special effects, like makeup before you go to sets again and just go incognito, full on incognito so people don't know it's you. Yeah, and they'll be there.
I might try that.
Yeah, you should. Shonda, didn't you were working on these shows and then you were also raising kids at this time, right? Did you already have your daughter?
No, I was working on these shows. Emerson was 2 in season 3. Beckett was 1 in season 3. Yeah, Harper was like starting to be a teenager. It was crazy.
Which is not an easy phase for kids,
no.
I hear.
I would bring, you know what? Emmy was amazing because I could tuck Emmy under my arm, bring her to the office because she was this like silent, observant baby. And we would sit in the writer's room. She could sit in the writer's room like all day.
Really?
And be perfectly fine.
And not make a peep.
Right.
I remember her being at a table read, like, you know, at the beginning of one, and she just was so observant and like
she would come
had
to
this
table
like
reads
sort
to
of
me.
Buddha feeling.
I remember one day I took her from a Grey's Anatomy table read in the car straight to a Scandal table read. And she just sat there the whole time, was like, this is so interesting. Beckett, on the other hand, was like, I got to scream right now. So she didn't get to come much.
Hearing
also
Betsy Beers
3,
do the...
Oh, yeah, go G.
Yeah. I was just going to say, those kids, hearing Betsy Beers do the stage directions probably lulled them into a sleep, right? It was like a lullaby.
That was one of my most favorite things.
Them.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah. It was one of my most favorite thing ever, Betsy doing the stage directions. I love that.
Yes.
Stage directions. Oh, she's the most. I've done so many table reads in my life, and there is nothing like a table read with Betsy Beers reading the stage directions. There's nothing.
Agreed.
Okay, so I call season 3 the Come Hell or High Water season because it starts with Papa Pope saying that and it basically ends with Papa Pope saying that. Yeah.
That's right.
And season 3 is where Carrie also was pregnant in this season.
Carrie was pregnant, yep.
And I mean, bless her, and completely different than me. I feel like I watched this season, and I mean, you can, you know, she's in some lovely, incredible jackets with some incredible purses and stuff like that.
The biggest handbags in the world, yeah.
The biggest handbags in the world, and she's behind a lamp or she's behind a whatever, which, I mean, only Kerry Washington, like Quinn, you could have never hidden a freaking day of my pregnancy. But what was, like, did you remember making a decision? I'm just curious, like, where Olivia like was not going to be pregnant? Like, how did that?
Well, I knew from the beginning that Olivia Pope was not a person who wanted to have kids. Do you know what I mean? I feel like she had been so traumatized by her childhood. And I was like, we certainly can't be doing the season with Papa Pope and her pregnant. Like, it was just it didn't make sense psychologically. And so I was like, we got to hide it. I was thrilled she was pregnant, celebrated it every time anybody got pregnant. But I was like,
I know you do.
And I was like, I don't care if she kind of looks pregnant. Like, we just let's figure out how to hide it. And Tom Verica was amazing at hiding that pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I remember that Olivia Pope, even in her creation, was someone that was not going to be, that's not a character trait of hers. She was not going to have a kid, which, like, thankfully for Quinn, that was not the case.
Yeah.
Phew.
Quinn was very normal, which is so funny considering who Quinn sort of turns into, but Quinn was very normal. But
white picket fence,
she wanted
marriage, kids, the whole thing. And this
those
crazy
pencil
job.
skirts.
Yes. Pencil skirts. Okay. Also in season 3, I think for me, it is the greatest guest starring cast. Like, we have Leo Bergen in full effect. We have the Daniel Douglas murder. We have
Lisa Kudrow.
Andrew. We have Lisa Kudrow.
That's right.
We have Sally Langston. We have Hollis Doyle back. Like, it is like... which guest star could get an Emmy because they were all just bringing their A game and were written the most incredible characters. This is the season where James dies. Can you tell us anything about... This was where we all realized, oh shit, none of us are safe. And this is the greatest job in the world.
But also he died he got the Emmy too.
He got the Emmy.
So
He died and got an
maybe
Emmy,
I do want to get killed off.
Yes.
No, never.
How do you know, like, how do you know that this is something that happens? I remember you saying something like, I'm the protector of the story and the keeper of like the characters. Like, how do you know when something like that is the right move?
I just know. I mean, I don't know how to tell you why I know. But I just know, like, I would go into the room and be like, okay, so James is going to die. And the room was like, what is wrong with you? Like Cyrus and James and blah, blah, blah. And they were going on. And I was like, it's the story. Like, we're there now. Like, that's where we are in the story. Yeah. Also, you know, I was actually with Dan Bukatinsky this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That's
oh
right.
My gosh,
I just saw a picture on Instagram.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
The world is crazy. Okay.
But we were talking, like, Dan was talking to me, and we ended up talking about the episode where he dies. And he talked about how emotional it made him just listening to Scott Foley's speech, the whole thing, you know, where he sits next to him. Yeah. It was great.
Oh,
yeah.
That ending is, I mean, there are so many this season between Sally Langston's like yum yum piggy, yum
crispy piggy.
She's losing her mind, like the devil has taken over her. She feels like God isn't talking to her anymore because she's a murderer. Jake Ballard is next to James as he's gurgling these last gurgles, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, this had to be so painful, but we had to make it look like it was, you know, a murder and that I wasn't involved." I mean, it was just like, but you just know when you know. You're like, nope, James is going to die. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the way that it has to go. And you have to, how hard that is as your job that you have to make it not personal. Like, you're friends with Dan.
But that's why I'm the keeper of the story. Like, I'm like, I can't take any of that into account because the world I'm protecting is the story world. And I'm the only one protecting it 100%. That's my job. So I feel like you make these decisions and you make them completely outside of what you're doing. It's really hard, let me tell you.
Oh my!
It's cutthroat. It's savage.
Yeah, it feels savage.
But you have to do it. But it you know, it makes the show. It made the show so much more exciting when that happened. I love when Dan was telling us a story that he was trying to pitch to you. A world where James would come back. He was like, well, if you don't see the body, like he shoots him, right? But you don't see
And I was like, we see it. It all happens. We've watched the light go out. It's bad. Yeah. He did a beautiful job with that.
He
did.
He
did. It made me sob. And it also gave you such juice to be like, you know, the following episode, we get to go back in time and we see why James and Cyrus fell in love and all of these things.
I love that episode. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We will be back with more after the break. When you are working on a season for your process, is it the kind of thing where, like, the beginning of the season, you mapped out the season 3 arc, or you're still completely open to taking a total left turn when we're in episode 9? Like,
okay, I want to tell you, we never knew anything. But I mean, we never knew.
Too.
But one of the things was when I wrote, and I'm literally like, when I wrote the speech for Papa Pope in that first episode where he's like, you will get on that plane come hell and high water, and I am the hell and the high water. I wrote that. And I knew in my head from that moment, I was like, so at the end of the season, she's getting on that plane. Like, that was the one thing. I was like, that is the point of the season.
Oh, shit.
So you might have an end mark. You had like an end goal.
Yeah, I knew,
but everything in the middle.
We were getting to, yeah. But like, I didn't know we were going to kill Jerry. I didn't know any of that stuff till I knew it. You know what I mean? I was like, what's going to get him elected? And it was that stuff, you know?
Savage. Killing his child. Savage.
But the room was so great because by this time they had learned that, like, that's what we were doing. Like, there was nothing too special. And so they would come in. I would come in and they would pitch me like amazing crap. Like, I don't remember who wrote Yum Yum Crispy Piggy Yum Yum, but it's still one of the favorite things that someone wrote. And it was amazing.
So good.
It's so amazing. But that's how I think it also and I'm not sure if that's how your process has been with your other shows and the stories you tell, but I feel like you can feel that in Scandal. I think what lends itself to the OMG and the oh my God, and there's no too far you can go and it is because it wasn't so premeditated. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't so pre-planned that you feel the like this stress. You feel it.
But also, I feel like it's so important to say a lot of that came from, like, I would write it, we would write it, you guys would perform it, then I would watch it, and I would go to the room and go, okay, so here's what's going to happen next based on what I watched. Not necessarily from anything else. It was how, like, I remember episode 1, 301. Joe Morton gives that amazing Papa Pope speech, you know, where he talks about, you know, being twice as good in that whole thing. And I didn't know how it was going to play. The first time I saw it was on film. And I remember, like, one of the writers coming to the room and being like, he just overacted that whole thing. Like, it's just crazy. It's like so overacted. Yeah. And then you see it on film and you're like, no, this is perfect. Like, that's who that man is. And that informed so much the rest of the season, because that's the first time we saw him as a dad.
When the first time I saw Joe Morton do that speech, I was like, what the hell? Because it is... You're not used to in TV. You're so used to like make everything really small, and the camera is a microscope. So everything needs to be subtle and like nuanced, and it's just behind the eyes. And then you see Joe Morton, one of the greatest actors in American history, just do a television scene like he's reaching a 3,000 seat Broadway house, and you're like, the writing could hold it. Like it was,
that was what was great.
Could do it. Yeah. It was like, what? Like we are breaking all the rules that I was taught of
exactly
how to do a television drama. Like it was like,
let's just let everybody monologue. Yeah, we did a lot of stuff.
Having monologues at all is not a traditional television thing. Like I even seen that. It was crazy.
I loved it. I was having so much fun. Season 3 is one of my favorites. It is. It's absolutely one of my favorite seasons.
How did you know to kill a kid? Like, what was happening? Like, the killing of Jerry, when we get to the end of this season, I am like, what? This is incredible. It was incredible. And it was the only thing that would work to get him elected.
That was how he started. Like, in my head, the thing I thought about that season was, like, that amazing scene where Olivia and Cyrus are sitting on that bench in the hospital. And Olivia says he's going to win now. He's absolutely going to win. And Cyrus is like, I thought that too. And I was like, that to me was the ultimate political animal moment. And really started from that. And also getting to have the kids on in the first place and seeing like what they meant in the world and their lives. It was cool.
Oh, it was so, so cool.
You do something which I love, Shonda. You'll let the actor know, like, before everyone else knows that you're going to kill them off, which I love.
That's a brutal, cruel thing to, like, just have someone come to a table read. We tried to trick Josh Molina into thinking he was going to die, but that was the only time.
Yes, and he freaking...
fast.
He caught it, right? He didn't even get spooked. Yeah, he caught it.
He's
so annoying,
worst,
so annoying.
And I love him. Which brings me to... one of our first questions, of course. Veronica Giles wrote, my question is, will there ever be a Scandal movie or reboot of some sort? Many of us, myself included, feel like we need closure on Olitz.
This is a question that everyone asks. Like, I'm constantly being asked. I'm like, ask Shonda. I don't know.
I know the story's over, but I would reboot this show in a minute because we had so much fun and it was so much fun to work with everybody just to get the band back together. Like, I would reboot the show in a minute for that.
I know.
But I don't know. I don't know if you're ever going to get closure on Olitz. Like, what kind of closure do you think you want?
I know.
Because there's no fairy tale happy ending. We made that very clear from the very beginning. And I think people want their fairy tale. It's part of why I thought about Bridgerton. I was like, in Bridgerton, everybody gets a happy ending. Like, let's it's all wonderful. But in Scandal, I was like, no, this is not that world.
No, it's a tragedy. I mean, Scandal really is like, it's tough, but it is what it is. Speaking of getting their happy ending, in season 3 is where we get the Vermont House.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful house.
That house was so beautiful, and that scene was so hot. I'm so uncomfortable. Yeah. The only time I'm uncomfortable watching this show is like how close we all are, and how I'll be watching the show and I'm like, damn, this is the hottest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, there's Fitz and Olivia just going at it on the rug of this beautiful Vermont house, and the fireplace is going, and how does Fitz's body look like that, and how does, and then I'm like, these are my friends. I'm like, this is Carrie and this is Tony. These are people I know very well, and I know their significant others, and this is like
weird,
so bizarre.
That was the Ava DuVernay episode. That's the episode that Ava DuVernay directed.
Oh, that's right.
She was amazing.
That's right.
She was amazing.
Oh,
she was.
She did an amazing job.
So
and it was before she had. I remember sitting with her and talking to her. Selma.
It was before anything. It was before anything. No, they wouldn't let her. Nobody would let her direct an episode of television. She'd won all these film festivals. A guy would have gotten
Yes.
$100 million picture off of it. But they were like, well, we don't know. We don't know. And
Wow.
on Scandal, we had this thing where we hired the directors we wanted to. And I was like, Tom's here. If there's anything goes wrong, Tom's here. And so they wouldn't tell us
Yeah.
who we couldn't hire, which is how we got a lot of women directors on that show.
Oh, it was the best.
I love that so
But
much.
Ava was the best. I'm the proudest of
Oh,
that.
she was. I wish I would have gotten to work with her more. I think we worked with her just a couple of days, right, Katie? Like in
Yeah,
in
we didn't
OPA.
have big storylines during her episode, but I'll never
Yeah.
forget sitting there
But I mean, she was.
and her being like, yeah, I was a publicist for
Yeah.
a while, and then I made this movie, and it did really well at Sundance, and I'm a filmmaker, and da-da-da-da, but this is the first time I've ever done TV, and I'm going to do this movie called Selma. And
Yeah.
I was like, I am
That's
catching this
amazing.
woman on the upswing
Yeah.
of changing the world. Like, she is going to
She's
change
incredible.
the world.
She's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
incredible.
So we have another question, a burning question from Mariah. Yes, from Mariah Smith. And she says, what was your thought process in bringing in a character that most believe was supposed to come in between Olitz?
He
Oh, this is
was.
big.
Well, speaking of,
We're talking about
Yeah.
Scott, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say.
yeah.
My thought process was simple. Like, we needed somebody like that. You know, we needed that sort of spookiness. And I thought that was powerful and important to have. Like, you wanted this guy who the audience was like, no, yes, no. Is he evil? Is he not evil? And I remember Scott being like, everybody hates me. Everybody hates my character.
That's because it's good.
It's really
Yeah.
good. And then just, if you skip it, I wrote a monologue for him in season 4, which we sat together and watched while live tweeting. And I was like, just watch the tweets. Because once this monologue is over, the audience is going to turn. And we literally watched the audience turn from hating him to loving him in like a monologue. Yeah.
No way.
No way.
It was the
my
one where he
God.
thought he was going to die and he's sitting in that prison. He's been beaten up by Fitz. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So
Oh my
good.
God.
Yeah.
I guess the audience was like, how dare you bring in somebody that would ever come between Olivia and
Well,
Fitz?
they
But
were-
guys.
They were very loyal, and I love that. They were very loyal to Fitz and Olivia, but I was like, we have taken time to deconstruct Fitz and Olivia for you. You got to fall in love with him the way she did, and then you got to learn the realities of him. And,
yeah.
Mhm.
you know, he's a complicated person to love, but I also just wanted her to have some choice. And I wanted Fitz to have like somebody to be up against too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that?
Right?
I'm like,
Yeah.
I love a love triangle
Mhm.
when there's one woman and two men.
Oh,
I am
hell yeah.
all about it. I think
When it
it's
keeps everybody on
Right,
their
it keeps
toes,
everybody on their
right?
toes.
It keeps everybody on their
And
toes.
it was this
If-
weird expansion of Papa Pope's family because, you know, Jake was
That's
one of
right.
his sons.
B613,
Huck was
yeah.
his sons. And so we needed this weird, it was a weird brother-sister relationship too.
before we get to our last question, and then I know you have to go because we've got Bridgerton coming out and there's a lot of press to be done. When did you
Yeah.
guys decide, because it's in this season also, that Huck and Quinn romantically get involved?
They were interesting. I mean, like I talked about you like you're not here, but those characters were so interesting to watch. YOLO is that episode
Oh.
with the teeth pulling and all that.
Oh,
I just loved it so much. And getting those characters together was this weird function of that dysfunction. You know what I mean? Like it was also how they became sort of equals, because before that Quinn had been
Yeah.
like his puppy, right?
Yeah.
And after that, they were really on equal footing so much of the time, so much that Quinn could challenge Huck, which I thought was great.
Yeah. Who is nasty enough in the writer's room? You don't have to out them to be like, this is when he licks her cheek and this is when she licks his face. Like, what is even going on? I'm watching it and I don't really remember doing it. I'm so into it and I'm just like, wow, we were.
I remember the day you licked me. I remember that because we were shooting at Hollywood Cemetery.
wow.
Remember?
I remember
Do
that.
you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just watched that. And we had Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen, she directed the episode where we have sex on a car.
Oh my God, I love
Yes.
And I was so she is
the best.
one of my all-time favorite directors of all time. But she made me feel so comfortable and confident because Quinn has to be really sexy. And that's probably the one thing I am as an actress, just like, oh God, I want to crawl on my skin. I'm so scared. Like, I can't.
Those scenes were so sexy. And here's the deal. Like, I remember the one sex scene I wrote, between characters who weren't Fitz and Liv.
Yeah.
The one sex scene I wrote was the one where Abby sticks her fingers in
Oh yeah,
David's
so
mouth.
good.
And I wrote it, and I was like, I just wrote it because it felt weird and it felt like what Abby would do. I don't know who wrote the licking. I don't, but I loved it, and I was like, let's see. And you know me, I'm never going to be like the characters have to be unclothed. Like you guys could have done that scene fully clothed, and the licking itself was the sexy part. That's what was interesting.
Right.
It didn't
Yes.
require any nudity. It didn't require any anything.
No.
No,
Yeah.
he just
Huck was fully clothed
No,
when
we
he
both
licked.
were
Yeah.
fully clothed,
Yeah.
which
And
we
so
were
were you.
very appreciative about.
Yeah.
Right.
We also had long conversations, Shonda, which the people know about. We've talked about it before on the podcast, but G and I had long conversations where we were like, we will not make out like Fitz and
Right.
Olivia. We are not movie stars. We are weirdos, and the pain and pleasure threshold
Yes.
is very confused.
Yes.
And so, you know, there weren't intimacy coordinators at the time, but it would have been like, okay, there's probably going to be like tongue, which is like not really allowed in Hollywood.
And me and Katie were like, "Bah."
Thank God we were like best
I was going to
friends
say,
forever.
it
and was
helped that
fine.
you guys were best friends and it made it okay. But yeah,
Yes,
no,
yes.
intimacy coordinators came later. And then once we
Yes.
had them, that's when I started being like, I remember Carrie saying, like, can Scott and I just choreograph this sex scene ourselves with the intimacy coordinator? I was like, great. Like, here's what I want from it. Knock yourselves out. And so that's when we started letting you guys choreograph your own sex scenes with the coordinator. So that I was like, this is perfect because then everybody really feels comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, we felt so taken care of. And again, I mean, Debbie was...
She's the best.
Like,
yeah.
she's the
Debbie.
best. And she just made me feel like... She was just like, you look good. Like, she just was like really complimentary. And I was like, oh my
Yes.
God, I feel kind of cute. Like, thank God for Debbie Allen.
Well, lucky you were cute.
Okay,
So it's
G.
okay.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
G, last question.
Is this really it? Is this really it? We're like, this is a fast conversation. Wow.
I know.
This is from
Go, G.
What's the question?
This is from Denise Steen, another burning question.
Oh, yeah.
She says, I've been curious for years, who was the funniest to write dialogue for, Sally or Hollis? Both such interesting characters in their own ways and have great one-liners.
You know, Hollis was really fun to write for, but for me, it was Sally. And the reason why it was Sally was she took herself so seriously. Like, Hollis was always like in on the joke. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But she took herself so seriously. And then to give her these lines, like, it's not in God's plan that I lose Ohio, like those kinds of things, she was so serious. I mean, even when she was spitting yum yum crispy piggy, like she was so much fun to write for because
Committed,
she was deeply
yes.
committed and shook everything. Like, her idea of politics was that it was like the foundation of life. So she took it all so seriously. It was great.
Which is so scary.
It was almost like she was like, God had told her, you know, like she was supposed to be there like a king or queen, you know, like it is in my blood.
Right. She played it that way, like literally like, I am here because God says this is where I'm supposed to be. And so she played it so brilliantly.
Crazy.
Oh, she did. And Leo Bergen is one of my all-time favorite characters.
Oh my God.
In the entire Scandalverse. And this is the season where the church blows up and he rips Sally's shirt off and rubs some dirt on her.
Ashes on her
and
face.
he's like, go.
He's like, be Jesus, Sally, go be Jesus. That he was also great to write for, but see, you know, he was from private practice. So I've been writing for him forever and love working with him. So, but it was really fun to see him come in as this like totally different guy. And he played it so hard and like so seriously. It was fantastic.
He's so good.
Oh, Shonda, you are is there anything else we have not talked about in season 3 before you have to go do your Bridgerton
We didn't
life?
talk about the fact that this is the episode, this is the season where you introduce Huck to his family at the end.
Oh, yeah.
This is
God, why did Quinn do that? You were so mad, right?
Yep.
I
That
was
final
so
season
mad.
was also that final episode was also Columbus Short's last episode. Remember, because he was the one who figured it all out.
Oh,
he was the
wow.
one who went to Pope and figured it all out. So it was there were a lot of big things that happened this season. That season was filled with these very, very big moments.
And speaking of Harrison Wright, I think this is actually a really good time to share some very special news with the listeners.
Yeah.
G and I, we had a beautiful reunion with Columbus Short, and we recorded an entire episode together that really, it covers a lot of ground about his time on the show. And we are going to be dropping that conversation in a few weeks. So definitely, Gladiators and listeners, keep an eye out on our socials for the official release date of that episode.
So, Shonda, of course, you know that we had Columbus on the podcast. What did you think? How was it?
I absolutely loved hearing it. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh,
you guys spend a lot
good.
more time talking about Britney Spears than you should have, but it was amazing.
Well, that's something we
But it
all
was
have in
awesome.
common,
No,
me, you, and
it was
Columbus.
awesome. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
Britney Spears, something we all have in common. But what I really loved was just hearing him be so open and brutally honest about that period of
Yeah.
time in his life. It was really beautiful to hear. I always have a special love for Columbus.
Oh my
You know,
God. Me too.
because he's such a talented actor, and it hurt so much,
Mhm.
but it was so
Yeah.
brilliant. His time on the show was so brilliant.
Oh my God. Harrison is.
So good. Unforgettable.
He's unforgettable, and he's like always how I feel when I watch a show back. I'm like, he's like the gladiator. Like that's how I feel, like a gladiator in a suit. He's that for me.
He was that. He was the gladiator in a suit who taught everybody else. Like, he was teaching Quinn the ropes. He was great. And I thought like his podcast, it's one to listen to because it's just amazing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. It was so
thanks,
great.
Shonda.
Yeah.
Your support means the world. And I mean, we were
yes.
really happy to have the platform to do it and that he was game. And
That was amazing.
it was
and
it
I'm
was a
really proud
full
of him.
Circle.
Yeah, I'm proud of him for taking
Yeah.
that opportunity too.
Me too.
You guys were bold, but he was brave.
Yes.
Yeah. And he came in with humility and
Yes.
he was open and it was just lovely. Yeah. It was really nice to see him like that.
Season
Need to have
3.
him.
We're
Season
probably
3.
going to bug you for season 4. We are
You can
in
bug
the
me
midst of it.
you can bug me whenever you want to. I love talking about the show and I love talking to you guys. Seriously. You can just be like, can you talk about
Yay.
something? I'm happy to do it.
Oh.
Oh, thank you,
Oh,
Shonda,
we love
so
you,
much. We
Shonda.
love
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much. Best of luck. I know what I'm
Yes.
doing this weekend, and at the time that this airs, everyone will have already seen Bridgerton and is obsessed with it, and the
That's right.
Bridgerton fandom will continue on. But we love you, and thank you so much for coming on to the
Thank you,
podcast.
No
Shonda.
problem.
We'll be right back, guys.
So it was awesome to have Shonda on.
So great. We love you, Shonda.
We love you, Shonda Rhimes. And now we're going to break down this episode 308. Vermont is for lovers too.
You better tell somebody.
You better tell somebody. You better don't.
I'm telling you.
I love this episode. It is a
So do I.
steamy episode.
Yes.
Sexorama. Okay, this episode really was special for me. It's episode 308 called Vermont is for Lovers 2. It aired on November 21st, 2013.
And it was written by Mark Wilding and directed by the wonderful Ava DuVernay.
Guest starring Candy Alexander as Maya Lewis, Lisa Kudrow as Congresswoman Josie Marcus, Jack Coleman as Daniel Douglas Langston.
Brian Lesher as Tom, Sally Pressman as Candace Marcus, Sharmila Devar as Lauren Wellman, and Ivar Broger as Doctor.
The synopsis, to remind you, the OPA team gets closer to nailing down the security guard killer as Fitz and Olivia do a little nailing of their own.
Meanwhile, Cyrus has a plan to take down Sally Langston. All it involves is pimping out his own husband to Daniel Douglas. Things come to
shit.
an epic climax after Maya Pope escapes from her cell and shows up at Olivia's doorstep.
Okay, so many things in this episode. First, you're all going to remember this. Maya chews her own fucking wrist.
That's my
It
first
is
note. Yep. Disgusting. Even for me, who is a huge horror fan. Disgusting and savage. Who the fuck? She chewed her wrists off. Who wrote this? Mark Wilding.
She's been in jail for 20 years and it's on her back, thank God. And you just hear blood and gnawing and bone and gurgling
Snapping
and
and-
blood and snapping of ligaments and disgusting sounds. And you realize what she's doing is that she's chewing her own wrist off so that she can essentially try to commit suicide to get her out of the cell. And the doctor so grossly says, yeah, this girl's out of her mind, because we've had people be able to make it to like level 1
and they
of
pass
gnawing your
out.
own wrist
Yeah.
off and pass out. She'd made it all the way through to the most major arteries. I'm like, this bitch is crazy.
Well, she is a Maya Pope.
That was disgusting. The other huge, like, winning scenes of this episode, I mean, the biggest, I must have written 1,000 notes about Tony Goldwyn's body in
I
this episode.
know. Listen, and I feel like there's a character that is not a human in this episode that is such a standout and so beautiful and so epic, and it's the Vermont home.
Oh,
When
my
we
God.
see
So this
that
episode
home,
is
yeah.
where Fitz says, please, I need him time. And she gets in this private plane. And I guess it takes 1 second to fly from DC to Vermont.
Right.
And he walks into this house and there's like, sheets on
Furniture.
the furniture, but the fire's going. And it's the most beautiful laid stonework fireplace and these vaulted wooden ceilings. And it looks like they're in the most bucolic landscape scene. And he says, I bought it for us. I wanted you to see it one time before I sell it.
I kind of broke down in that part when he says
It's
that.
like, boom, chick,
Yeah. And that love scene, the way that love scene was shot, beautiful.
Ava killed that.
Yeah.
Ava, the sex scene, and Tony Goldwyn's bidet. That's unheard of. I don't understand his washboard
what the
abs
fuck,
and the
man?
perfect placement of the manscaping hair.
Yes, and just the waist and that sort of like V shape down.
He's such a V shape. That is something genetic, and he's eating baby blood vampire shit in the middle of the night.
Maybe he's eating
'cause I
Maya's
don't
wrist
understand.
blood. I think that's what it is.
It's the most epic sex scene. It's so beautiful. They're just like on the floor. They're all over this Vermont house. And where did you hear where this house was shot? Because I'd love, where in LA
Katie,
is this house,
is-
and how much does it
We've
cost?
shot in this house. I have a scene in front of that fireplace with Darby, and I have a scene on
I
one of the
wasn't
chairs.
there.
You weren't there for that?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
it's a
but watch us
beautiful
get
home.
to that season in that episode,
And you're like,
damn,
and there's Quinn. Yeah, there was I remember Carrie telling me that oh my God, Jamie Foxx lived right up the hill, and there was a day that they were shooting in the house, and Jamie was having like a big old party, and Carrie called Jamie to be like, Jamie, can you just turn down music a little bit because we're filming? And he totally did. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
Yeah, because they were in the middle of shooting.
Such a good.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious and so Hollywood.
I was just gonna say that Candy Alexander is very much in this episode, and obviously she has that crazy scene chewing off her wrist. She has the wonderful scenes in the hospital where Eli Pope is showing her pictures of Olivia, because she, again, like Katie said, she's been in prison for 20 years, right? So she doesn't even know what her daughter looks like when she was a teenager and as an adult. But a fun fact about Candy Alexander is that she was a choreographer, and she choreographed Whitney Houston's world tours from 1988 to 1992. Which I had no idea. I didn't know that
Me
about
either.
her.
Are you I need to YouTube videos of Candy Alexander dancing.
Yes,
Can you
I
find
know.
that anywhere?
I'm sure you can. Oh man.
Somebody definitely says QR5 facial recognition software in this episode. It's Jake, and I love it so much. What is QR5 facial recognition software, and how many times did you say it on Scandal? Because I think I said it 7,500 times.
I'm sure I've said it a ton. Something else that stuck out for me in this episode is when James mentions Ella's poop log. And I was like, is this that's some straight hell bullshit. Y'all keep vlogs of your babies.
That's a
poop
real
log. Is that a real
thing.
thing? Just to be like, her poop today was solid and sort of light brown. What?
Yeah, you write down, because if the baby's really little, when you go to the pediatrician, they ask you how many times have they pooped and peed in the day, because it's the only way to tell, are they getting enough calories, are they gaining weight, and are they not dehydrated, and is their body up on line. Also, I used to have a poop log because
for yourself? Adam? Adam, you had a poop log for Adam?
Could you imagine?
Adam.
No, for my baby, because if you had childcare, you would keep a log so that she could, when I got home from the end of the day, it would be written down if the kid went to the bathroom, because I could get home, she might have left, and the baby could be super cranky and you might not know why. And you look at the poop log and you're like, oh my God, she hasn't gone to the bathroom at all today. She might have really bad gas and maybe she needs medicine or whatever.
Right.
So that's that straight ass poop log bullshit. I wrote that down too, though.
Did.
This is also the episode where Cyrus has been setting up for Daniel Douglas and James to have an affair.
Yes.
But Cyrus is so convinced that when push comes to shove, James won't do it because he's not like Fitz.
And it ends up happening. He goes to Daniel Douglas's house and he starts to realize and put together that Cyrus has set this whole thing up, and he's so upset. And James, oh my God, Dan Bucatinsky does such an amazing job.
So good.
And they end up hooking up and having sex. And then Cyrus is waiting at home for them. And then James has all these lines that are like, you know, innuendos that he did it.
I'm
he
back
says
on the
things
saddle.
Like, yeah.
Well, I'm just back on the saddle again. It feels good to be back on the saddle. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and then he said something like, yeah, he really opened me
Yes.
up, or I really opened him up, or something like that. And then he's like, okay, come to bed, honey. And he's like, no, I'm going to take a shower.
Take a shower. Don't wait
and
up
then he
for
says,
me.
don't wait up for you. And he says, I love you.
Yeah.
And then we see Cyrus open up his cell phone and he gets the documented, like the actual proof of photos of them.
And he's mortified.
Shirtless and hooking up. Oh my God.
Yes.
And what's so crazy is that at this time when we were making this episode, I didn't know, none of us knew that this was going to be the thing
Right.
that leads James to his death.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. And Daniel Douglas. Right.
And Daniel Douglas. Everybody dies because
Everybody
of this
dies.
affair, and it's all
Everybody
Cyrus's
dies.
fault.
Mhm. So good. So good. I love the moment where between Quinn and Huck, where Huck and this I love that in this episode Quinn is trying to hide the fact that she killed that security guard, right?
Oh yeah, she killed the security guard.
But
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
trying to hide that.
And this is the episode where she's trying to get the information before you do, essentially.
Yes, and the whole OPA team is like working hard to get the picture of that woman with that pencil skirt who killed the security guard. And Quinn's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, Abby says that shitty pencil skirt and those dumpy heels.
But there's a moment where Quinn goes into Huck's office and Huck is like, hey, you do a really good job. You do a really good job at what you do, or something like that. And I don't tell you enough. And I love that. But then Quinn is like,
But then the episode ends and Quinn comes into her apartment and she has her spidey senses up and she's like, Huck? And he's waiting. Oh, there's a folder on the floor and she picks up the folder and it's a close-up shot of her in the building that killed the security office, and Huck is waiting there with the tarp and the toolbox. Baby. Ruh-roh for Quinn. Ruh-roh.
I remember shooting in Quinn's apartment. Whenever we shot in Quinn's apartment, it was always like a really intense scene, like a really good, juicy, intense, dark scene. It was always exciting shooting there, and it was on the stages at Sunset Gower. Yeah.
It was on the stages. Okay, Guillermo, 6 Degrees of Horror. Was there anything in this ep? If you look on your notes, I don't know these movies.
Well, listen, there was a lot of horror, and it was in the beginning of the episode, yeah.
Kenny Alexander was in Firstborn in 2007. A pregnant couple buys a mansion and moves out of NYC. Strange things start happening to the C-sectioned, anxious new mom. Have you ever seen Firstborn?
No, I have not seen that. Can you believe it?
Wow, a horror movie exists that Guillermo Diaz has not seen.
And then Terminal also.
I will never watch these movies, but also I kind of love it. And also this episode was a horror thing in and of itself.
Yes.
And we had to watch a woman eat her own wrist off, which was absolutely disgusting. Okay, fun fact for this episode. It's like, this is a lot, but the compound that's in Quinn's syringe, which they name, it's called botulinum toxin. The effective dose that actually would kill someone around that dude's weight would have had to have been 3 pounds of liquid.
Oh, shit.
So there's no way that they named in the episode could have killed that guy. But like, whatever. Oh my God. Scandal tweets of the time. This one's a winner.
Oh, this
At
is my
Love You
favorite.
Mean It wrote, Quinn, you dumb bitch. Why would you ever trust Charlie? Hashtag scandal.
Love it. Go Dogs tweeted back at Mo Miriam. She tweeted, oh my God, just saw last night's Scandal episode. Quinn finally about to die. Get her ass, Huck. Oh shit. What, all this drama with Quinn, all this
all this
hate
drama.
for Quinn.
I love it. At Farduza92 tweeted, you believe he's killed your mother, but you forgive him because he got you a house? Olivia is something else. Hashtag scandal. So true.
Potato tweeted, are you a side chick if you get picked up by a helicopter to stay in a posh mansion? Hashtag scandal. Olivia Pope got me wanting to be a side chick. Ooh.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. At Angel Renee 13 tweeted, Melly is the side chick and she knows it. Hashtag scandal. And that's true.
Scandal Possessed tweeted, hashtag scandal. Scandal crew can have just one well-lit Olitz love scene before the show is over. It's hard out here for a fangirl editing pics. Oh my God. So she's saying she wants
That
the
is
lighting to be brighter so
so-
she could edit a good fucking
She
picture.
could just really focus on Tony Goldwyn's ass.
Yes.
Oh, look at this shot. This is with a picture. At Oh So Brand New tweeted Olivia Pope be like, oh, I thought you said throw it back Thursday, #scandal. And it's definitely a very saucy photo of Fitzgerald Grant behind Olivia Pope without their clothing on. And it looks like there's some
Hanky panky.
hanky-panky back position going on.
Oh, hey. Felicia tweeted, why y'all ain't warned me about this lady eating her arms on Scandal? I was eating. Oh, sorry about that, Felicia.
I know, same. At Smiley Stylist tweeted, I just had a whole body shaking flashback to last night's #scandal at Ava, etc. Plus Shonda Rhimes have me shook. I still hear the chewing.
So do I.
And guess what next episode is? All y'all who are Quinn haters are going to get what you want. Because the next episode is 309 and it's called YOLO.
YOLO.
Quinn's about to go
Quinn's about to
meet
go to the
her-
dentist. She about to go to the dentist, y'all.
So if you guys want to hear all about how much you hated Quinn and make sure that she gets her shit tortured real bad, come listen to next week's episode of Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast for episode 309 titled YOLO.
Quinn's gonna check her yuck mouth. Maybe she just got a yuck mouth.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. Tell your friends, hey, if you like the Scandal Rewatch podcast, tell a friend to subscribe to it.
Yes, we need you guys. Listen, if you guys want this show, this podcast to continue on, we need your help and we need your love. So please, find another scandal-obsessed friend or someone on social media and just send them a link to the podcast because it would help us a lot. And we would love to keep doing this for you guys and for us.
Bye. We love you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us on Unpacking the Toolbox. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, share with your friends, rate, or leave us a review.
Scandal is executive produced by Sandy Bailey, Alex Alche, Lauren Homan, Tyler Klang, and Gabrielle Collins. Our producer and editor is Vince DeJohnny, with music by Chad Fisher.
Scandal is a production of ABC Signature, and you can follow along by rewatching Scandal on Hulu.
Unpacking the Toolbox is a production of Shondaland Audio in partnership with iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from Shondaland Audio, visit the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you subscribe to your favorite shows.